Absolutely not.
Okay. Steve Miller is here, and it's his wife's birthday. Mona, happy birthday, Mona, though I don't see you.
I'll let her know.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I'll be at Torah study on my birthday.
Oh, okay. I assume you're sending a virtual birthday cake to everybody. I like that.
No, they're sending a virtual birthday cake to me.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Good to be together. This is actually, for me, getting to know you, and one of the reasons I say like, hi, Miriam, is so that I can get, and David, you really did well last week. Last week was good, David. Let's see if you can match. But getting to know you is a real privilege, and I'm enjoying it. And one of the ways I do it is just by saying hello and then saying like, hello, Ellen. And then I'm beginning to, and Kelsey, I don't know how you end up in the middle always. It just seems like it's your spot. I'm not sure how you do that.
Stan, take a second break to look at this.
What?
I want you to look at this.
I can't hear it. I
It's
can't
not.
see.
I'm telling you, take a break for a minute.
Okay, leave me alone, please.
I will.
Okay. So I was very anxious to get started this week. And then I realized that the topic is savlanut, is patience. And so we're going to be doing savlanut, patience. I just got distracted. I don't think we said the bracha. Did we say the bracha?
No.
Oh, okay. Baruch atah
Elohim
Elohim
melech
haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav
v'tzivanu
so
Torah.
praise Torah. Okay, and I begin with joy, as I have each week, to thank Don Levy and Hannah Gold. You really can't know how much work they really put into making this happen, and all the support and the encouragement. So thank you very, very much for that. Next week, this is week 5. Next week is week 6, our last session.
Yep.
I would like to make clear that actually by the end of next week's class, we will not have learned all there is to know about Moosar. Okay, I mean, is that understood? As a matter of fact, we will not even have reached the level of an introduction, because we're going to do one midah, maybe get to a second one today. We'll maybe do a couple next week. And there are dozens of key midot that we will not even have touched. And I would like to suggest to you, and I have to say this carefully, if there are any of you who want to do more depth, who want to get into more depth, I contact me privately, not for me to teach. So this is not a self-serving thing, but there are teachers and there are programs that can take you from where we are to the next step. And it's available. We should just know it's available. And that's it. Okay. So if you want more, there is more. There's always more. Looking back a little bit, we talked about the word midah, a soul a soul trait. There are many midot, many soul traits. Moosar, translated as ethics, is all about what we call tikkun midot hanefesh. Knowing that we have all of these traits, tikkun hanefesh repairing, perfecting the soul through learning about our midot is what Mussar is all about. So I know that at the very beginning, when we put out the first PR statement, Mussar is translated as ethics. But it's so much more than that. It's ethics. If you say, well, we're learning how we should behave in the world, that's ethics, yes. But it's much more than that. It's understanding how we are constructed. We have all of these midot, all of them within each of us, but we have them within us, each of us, in different ways, in different amounts, in different categories. And we have to learn who we are in relationship to the midot which make up the people we are. And one of the things, again, that I've mentioned and certainly believe is that there's a discipline involved. That's why I've suggested, and it's a standard suggestion, that when you get up in the morning, you have 30 days, get up in the morning, and you think about these 30 days are devoted to a particular midah. How am I going to operate today to better understand and better strengthen that midah? Here's a funny comment. Many of us know from all kinds of places about kavanah. Kavanah. Does someone want to come into the chat and tell me what kavanah is, or what you understand kavanah to be? Kavanah, a word that comes up a lot. Kavanah. Okay, Lisa Beth, intention with feeling. Rhonda, intention. Kate, spirit intent. You got it. It is the focus of our intentionality. For Moosar, that's not enough. Kavanah is not enough. Once we understand, once we comprehend, we begin strengthening the midah through practice. Moosar then is aimed at strengthening the way we function in life. I'll stick with that. Okay, the last question is a backup. Hey, Stan, we're Reformed Jews. When we start reading all of the Moosar literature, we're going to be in a world which very often depends upon a traditional understanding of God speaking through the Torah. Can we do this? Can we do Moosar as Reformed Jews? Answer, absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. Because Moosar is most definitely based upon Torah teaching and the evolution of Jewish thought from Torah time to our time. But it doesn't require us to maintain a belief that Torah comes directly from God at Mount Sinai. Many Moosar adherents do. As a matter of fact, it's only been in the past, I think, 6 or 7 years that the Moosar Institute, led by Marinus, had placed Reform rabbis on their teaching roster. They now have it. But it took time to grow. So, to put it comfortably, we are kosher in the Moosar movement, even if we don't believe in Torah Messina. Good. Okay, so let's review the midot that we already have met. Anava. Anava, humility, key statement. We are not the point of it all. I love that phrase. We are not the point of it all. And also the business of making space for others. One of the exercises that just struck me when I first got into this was, if you are a very quiet person, in your 30 days of practice, try to be mildly more assertive if you are a very assertive person. Try to be sitting in the back of the class and making space for others. Anava, humility. The next one, hakarat hatov, gratitude. The core that grabbed me here was the statement, folks, God doesn't need our gratitude. Modani lefanecha, I give thanks to you. I could even sing that, but I won't out of respect for you. Hodu Adonai ki tov, give thanks unto God. We could do all of that stuff, but from a Moosar perspective, God doesn't need any of it. We need to learn how to find the good in life and to be able to say thank you for that. Now I'm going to introduce something new here. Have any of you heard of surd evil? S-U-R-D. Surd evil. Anybody? I'm gonna get to it, but surd, S-U-R-D. The first time I encountered the term surd evil was at a graduate course in philosophy. Surd evil is a question. Is there in the world evil that has no moral implications? Can that be? So somebody would offer as an example, someone would offer as an example a hurricane, a tornado. Is there something about the tornado which is outside the range of moral, ethical dimensions? Hurricane, earthquake. Is there evil in the world from which we can say no good is ever derived? That's the discussion around surd evil. And I would love to invite you to drop a few thoughts into the chat. Some people would obviously say, when you deal with the Shoah, the Holocaust, surd evil. It is an evil that lacks all possibility of good. It stands like a tornado. Or is that not real? Because even after a tornado, something good can be derived for some people even after the Shoah. Here comes the ugly phrase. There was some good derived for some people. Help me with this. What is your reaction? Okay, so Lisa Beth says, tornado is outside the category of evil because a tornado has no capacity to make a moral judgment. It's not evil, it's not good, it is. That would be the perfect example of absurd. Let's keep going. Are there things in the world which must be considered totally outside of the range of ethical and moral judgment? Anybody? Okay, Betsy. It's relative to our perception of what morality and our relationship to evil. If we experience things as non-dual, D-U-A-L, then there would be no discussion of good or evil, as they would be contained holistically. So it is our bifurcation of the world into good and evil that creates the problems. And maybe good and evil morality are really on a single continuum, it seems that Betsy is saying, and therefore good and evil are contained to one extent or another within themselves. That's a powerful thought. Oh, Betsy says exactly. So I did well. Thank you, Betsy. Okay. Don, I'm not seeing myself as center on my screen. If you're there, I'm seeing Susie, who is not me. I know. So if you could find a way. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I pulled back the curtain and there was Don. Okay, thank you. Now, is there anyone else? Those comments have been good. Kelsey, maybe there's a difference between the choice and the effects. Kelsey, help me with that. Come back in. An evil choice can still end up with good effects. So you're saying that there is, and vice versa. You're saying that there is no third evil. And Lori challenges, natural phenomena cannot be called good or evil. They simply are. They exist. Okay, when we're going to stop the question here, but you did great. When you say hakarat hatov, learn to find things that we can be grateful for, even in terrible circumstances. Okay, Betsy's throwing in one last one, but then I'm going to ask you to pause on this. You're just too responsive. Could we use this as a thought experiment with the idea of capital punishment? If someone kills another considered evil, then if we kill that person, does that make us also evil? It becomes a problem. It becomes a problem. And I'm going to have to leave us with this. Third evil is a real major problem within moral philosophy. And when we're dealing with hakarat hatov, there will be times when we say to ourselves, I absolutely refuse to find anything good for which to give thanks out of this event. And we're going to have to live with that. That's, if you're upset and concerned and confused and all of this has led nowhere, I have brought you to exactly where I want you to be. It's a problem. Okay, last week we also mentioned Yetzer Hara and Yetzer Tov. It is part of Freudian analysis and Mussar analysis that we have pressures within us which seem to want us to go in one direction or another. And part of the discipline of Moosar, part of our discipline is to be able to control the forces which push us. I had an incident like that a little bit yesterday when someone near me was acting abysmally. No, I will not share what they were doing, but they were acting abysmally from my perspective. In my earlier incarnations, part of me was a sheriff. Let me try to explain that. I really wanted to help fix all wrongdoing. I wanted to be the sheriff in town and fix things and correct things and whatever. And yesterday, in fact, thinking about what we've been studying, I took my badge off. I was in the presence of abysmal behavior, and I no longer felt that it was incumbent upon me to fix it right then and there. And I think it's part of what we've been studying. I think it's part of what we've been discussing. Okay, so we are into Savlanut today, starting new material. Savlanut, patience. So back to the chat. How can you tell when looking at someone that they are impatient? That's the question. How can you tell when looking at someone that they're impatient? I'll give you a second.
You can see their face, whatever their face.
Okay, that didn't go through chat, but I will accept face. Face. Sometimes face. Oh, Merle, pacing. Back and forth. Pacing. Okay. They show anger from Harv. Okay. Body language from Andrew. They're waiting for a chance to speak and not listening, for instance. Boy, that is the teacher's bane. The teacher's bane. Ooh, Ray, I think, sent an obscenity. I'm not sure. They're looking at their blankety blank phone. He didn't say blankety blank especially, but he hinted. Okay. Have you ever tapped your foot in impatience? Have you ever done that? Or the hand on the desk? Or have you ever bit your lip? Anyone? And I want to say something I can't stand. Ever done that? Or my favorite, I was going to demonstrate it, but I don't think it can. Maybe the old swirl the foot thing. You're sitting there and your legs crossed and that foot is swirling around, signaling impatience. So, agitating from Lori. Let's see. Betsy, lots of moving around. Not making eye contact, distracted. Okay, now. Personal question. What makes you impatient? You can write in the chat, a rabbi asking stupid questions. Fine. Or what else? What What makes you impatient? What makes you twirl your leg, bite your lip? Whoops. Lisa Beth, we need to talk. Your comment is, what makes you patient? Impatient? Everything. I have no patience. Okay, that's great. Okay, Lori. Oh, this is one of mine. I'm there. Incompetence. Oh, I'm there. Okay, I can see that. Oh, whoa. Waiting for people who are late when we need to get going, and they knew it. Okay, me too. Kelsey, when you're hungry, impatient. Kelsey, no, absolutely, I don't believe that. When something is supposed to be ready at the pharmacy, they tell you it's ready and it's not there when you get there, after you've had to go find a parking spot, right? A person who speaks so circuitously that I know what they want to say before they say, David, you want them, do me a favor, get to the point. Great. Diane, repetition of the same information over and over. So let me go back and review all of the stuff no, we're not going to do that. Makes us impatient. I have a nice gathering of tall cactus and other kinds of plants on my porch thing. And I have to fill my watering can. Do you know that it can take 2 hours to fill a watering can? You're there under the sink and the water goes in and it goes in and it goes in and it goes in. Filling a watering cage. Okay, let's see what else. Okay, now. And have you ever noticed the proximity of impatience and rage? Have you ever noticed that? How it can be that if we are like Steve, I remember your comment, you made an appointment, show up, we have a meeting, we want to start on time, you're impatient, but sometimes that impatience can lead to rage, can be really angry. This is the 4th time you made us wait for you. Can be that. Let me ask another question. What are the benefits? Oh, from Doris, people who keep everyone waiting. Oh, yeah. I mean, that Steve mentions that. I so much live in that impatience. And it's hard. It's hard. You get 9 people for a 10 people meeting, and you know that you want the 10th. Question. Can you share with me some benefits of being impatient? Can impatience be a source of good behavior?
Yes.
I'm looking for an example. Okay, Susie, okay, what do we get here?
My chat room is broken. I can't get to it. So you have my hand. My hand is my chat.
Okay, I see your hand. I acknowledge.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I don't know if you've ever been with someone that's had a surgery and you're the person that's waiting in the waiting room. And that's really hard because you can't help. I mean, the person isn't doing anything incorrect. Maybe they're doing the surgery, maybe the anesthesiologist is taking too long. And I've never been in a room where anybody's been so impatient. And there's nothing you can do except pray and have good thoughts. And then finally the doctor comes out. I don't know if anybody's experienced that, but that's a hard one.
You were waiting for the result of the appendectomy and the
Yeah,
doctor says
yes,
it's a
yes.
girl. And no, that's not us, it's somebody else. Okay. I got a couple of things here about how impatience can be helpful. If you are impatient, Betsy says, to grow spiritually, to know ourselves, to become the better version of ourselves, that impatience can be a motivating drive, Betsy. I think that's what you mean. Ray, it reminds me to be alert when I'm doing the same behavior as another. What an interesting thought. When you're impatient about somebody else's act or behavior, you ever step back and ask whether sometimes you do the same thing? Wow. Okay. Steve Miller, instead of sitting there and being impatient, if you can take the time and improve what it is you want to bring to the meeting, think about what you can add, think about how you can better communicate. And there's something else that Steve added, which is core to today's discussion. In the middle of your impatience, can you stop to think about why you are letting impatience take over your emotions? That's not only the person's problem, that's our problem. Okay, Merle pretty much said the same thing. The person with whom you are impatient can learn if you can communicate. Yes. Lori, allow yourself to find a creative. Yes. If impatience leads us to build a better world and to respond better, excellent, excellent. So sometimes impatience is a virtue, or if we have the line from impatience, what would be at the other end? Immobility? Just impatience on the one, oh no, if the impatience is something has to happen quickly, yeah, immobility at the other end. Sometimes impatience is a virtue. When something really bad is happening, do you counsel patience? Or sometimes impatience is necessary. I don't know how many of you follow football, and I don't know how many of you have celebrated with me Brady's win in the Super Bowl. That is not open for discussion because the oldest quarterback and the oldest coach together won the Super Bowl. And from my perspective, yes, age wins. So that's not open for discussion. I know that there are other issues, but for me. Now, one of the things that came up as a review of the Super Bowl was that everything was nicely inclusive. People of all sorts were involved in the halftime show, in the program, in the booth where the broadcaster, everything looked good. So one person wrote a very serious op-ed into the New York Times that I saw this morning. They failed to mention Colin Kaepernick. Now, you have no idea. Colin Kaepernick, an African-American football player who basically destroyed his career by the manner in which he chose to publicly attack the NFL's lack of inclusivity and proper treatment of African Americans. That's complicated. Let's reduce it. In a setting in which so many people felt so many good things were achieved, there is still somebody out there saying, we haven't gotten to where we need to be. Their impatience, their lack of savlanut was like a poke in the eye for everyone who was saying, oh, we took care of all the problems this year. Sometimes I knew a guy, super bright rabbi, headed many national organizations. But when the time came, when he was seeking election to one of the biggest, I was sitting on the nominating committee, and someone said, we can't have this organization led by someone whose most familiar comment is, on the other hand, on the other hand, on the other hand. We need leadership, and sometimes leadership requires impatience. Impatience.
Rabbi,
Please.
Rabbi, it's Miriam.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I don't know how to use the chat.
That's okay. I can hear you clearly.
Okay, now, what you said about patience is so factual, so true. It tells people sometimes what kind of a person you are. But just recently, in one of my book group meetings, I belong to 3 book groups a month. It makes me crazier than I am. But the person who was leading this particular time, and it was the book that she chose, sent us an email and said, I'm so sorry. I might be as much as 15 minutes late. I know that's a long time. Please bear with me. I'm so sorry. She didn't explain what happened or anything. So me, the big, what shall I call myself? The big yenta here, said to everybody, look, you know what? We've got a few minutes before we start our formal session. Let's use it. Please, let's not feel impatient, because that would be a choice on our part. We don't have to do that. Let's talk. Who wants to tell us something that they feel like talking about? It doesn't matter what it is. Speak up, speak out, and we'll all like to hear each other talk for the next few minutes. Is that okay with everybody? And everybody said yes. So that's where impatience is used for a good thing. So I want to just chat that as something that's factual, and it happens to all of us at least some of the time.
Now, that comment is beautiful and real. I don't know why this particular class is drawing this out of me. I really think impatience is something that needs to be controlled, unless we're confronting an evil or a problem that needs to be addressed immediately. Period. But just because my picture on my screen anyway sees me up front, doesn't mean that I'm great at this stuff. It means that I'm learning and trying and failing at some of this stuff. Some of you on this Zoom will quietly acknowledge that when I'm confronted with an technological malfunction, I lose it. And it's not good. I tend to view a technical malfunction as a personal insult that the internet world has ganged up on me and decided to destroy me. I suspect that's not true. On the other hand, it's hard for me to control that frustration and that impatience. I can give reasons, but the reasons don't hold up. So because I'm here with you and because we're learning together, I'm going to take on savlanut as a midah that I'm going to have to learn a lot more about. And I would appreciate it if you all would simply forget what I just said. Steve, was that a helpful note? Q is out to get you? Okay.
I was reinforcing your beliefs.
Okay, enough about being honest. I'm here to teach, not be honest. What? Okay. Benedict Spinoza, Baruch Spinoza, brilliant philosopher, said that sometimes we have to look at the world under the aspect of eternity. How fast do glaciers move? What's the answer? Come on.
Faster than they used to.
No. I mean, this is meant to be lighthearted, Steve. Come on. Glaciers move glacially. Okay, enough useless humor. Under the aspect of eternity, when you look at the reality of the universe, the slowness through which stars and galaxies are born, how many millions of years it took for us to emerge out of the apes. There's a wonderful Yiddish phrase, halt zachain epis. Take it easy. Take it easy. Strengthen your capacity to hold off. Be patient. Delay gratification. Delay the need to correct somebody. Look for ways to see the world a little differently. There is one line that I'm going to offer you as the memory line from today. Can you increase the distance between the fuse and the match? I think that is, since I didn't invent it, a fabulous line. Can you increase the distance between the fuse and the match? The Hebrew for having patience is savlanut. Savlanut. It comes from a three-letter root, which is standard in Hebrew, samach bet lamed, saval. It means to bear, B-E-A-R, to endure, to suffer. If we can gain savlanut, if we can gain control over our impatience, except when the world needs our impatience to make us fix a real problem. But if we can control our impatience, if we can own our pain without burdening others, it's a good thing. I have a secret. We can't control everything. Let's own that. We can't control everything. If we let impatience overcome savlanut, we can spend all of our day correcting, evaluating, judging, condemning. Some people get off on that. Savlanut, patience, asks us to surrender to reality. Have you ever had a circumstance? This is probably connected to nobody on this Zoom. Have you ever had a circumstance when you were getting ready to go out to an event that starts at a given time? Let's say symphony, opera, theater, whatever. Services. I meant to include service. Two of you are getting ready. You are ready. The other person is not yet ready. What's your reaction? What's your reaction? You are ready to go to the symphony. You know that you have to leave at this time so that you can get there and get into your seat by that time. And when you get to this time, the other person isn't quite ready. Oh, Diane, nice. Anger for the other person. Lisa Beth, makes me crazy. Betsy, what's taking so long? Hurry up. Frustration. Walk around, I like this. Andrew, walk around checking your watch. You don't have to say anything. Just walk in and out and check your watch. Fern, you want to make a comment?
Yes, you were saying that you can't control everything, but we can control how we respond. And I think that's what you're talking about. And I just wanted to share one thing that we use in my family, often unsuccessfully, but I like the concept, which is, we call it the ZOI, the zone of indifference. And we figure that the wider the zone of indifference of the things that matter deeply to you, the happier and less impatient you are likely to be. People with very narrow ZOIs are impatient and often upset and angry. People with wider ZOIs do better. So we try and widen our ZOIs.
It almost sounds Yiddish.
I know, I like it.
That's all.
Okay. So Fern is adding to Mussar literature, Zoe.
You're right.
One of the ways in which we can maintain savlanut is having a broad category zone of indifference. You know what? Fine. You're going to be 5 minutes late. The world won't end. Right? I don't know if I could say that. Oh my. This is very challenging for me. This is very challenging. Savlanut, for me, very challenging. By the way, is it fair to point out that as we go deeper into Mussar and deeper into the midot, the moral, the virtues, they overlap. You're never dealing with just one midah. And you know I'm struggling here, okay? I didn't even want to include this topic in our discussion because it hurts too much. But if we are struggling with patience, it's not just savlanut that's in play. It's anava too. Do you feel the crossover? If you're not the center of the world, then someone else being 5 minutes late is not the same as having a meteorite strike the earth. It's close to the same, but it isn't the same. So that, in fact, as we learn more midot, we'll see that it's going to be a rare situation in which it is one midah at play and not maybe several others as well. And this is when Betsy has a question. What does Moosar say about discernment? For example, someone in our life who is constantly late and disrespectful of our time, do we not have to discern when we ask them to stop doing it because our time needs to be respected? Am I making sense? Discernment between when to let it go and when to address it. So the question goes back to Fern. When does something get into the Zoe? And when is something simply intolerable? And without asking Fern, from my perspective, yes, there are times, clearly, when the behavior of others is felt deeply to be insulting.
Or even if it's not insulting, it's an issue of prioritizing how much do things matter. I think what Betsy just called discernment. And by that, I would call it prioritizing.
Okay, these are great questions. You understand why the midot behavior here, savlanut, is not a question of getting ready for a math exam and learning all of the formulae or whatever else that has to be done. And then we can be ethical, moral, Moosar driven people. It just isn't that easy. It is a discipline. It's complicated. And as I told you, Betsy, what I really wanted to say is I would tongue lash the person. And I suspect that that's the wrong Moosar answer. That I have to learn how to keep most of that stuff in a zone of indifference, but not always. I would suggest, however, that one can modulate how we express our feelings without attacking or being angry. Can you relay? David asks, first Kelsey, I'm sorry. I think that also would come back to Anavan, taking up your own proper space, not too little. Right, okay, that's good. I don't have to occupy all of the space. Kelsey is suggesting I love you, Kelsey. Kelsey is suggesting, but I have a right to some space. It's not that I'm king of the universe. Okay, so that's good, Kelsey, great. uh, can you relate the particular midot we discussed today to the Torah? They seem to be self-contained. Does Torah turn us outside ourselves regarding midot? You did it again, David. I mean, you're doing well. I'm going to have to exclude you from future classes.
Rabbi?
Let me actually, every once in a while, I pause to think. Savlanut. Let's take the conversations of the difficulty between Moses and the Israelites with regard to water. That last incident in which Moses smacked the rock with his rod as opposed to addressing it. He had lost all patience. Let me find another example for you. At the golden calf, God actually says to Moses at that point, stop holding me back. I want to wipe this people out, and I'm going to make you and your genetic descendants my chosen people. And Moses understands that that display of God's impatience was actually a cloaked request for Moses to step forward and say, hold it. Hold it. He even said it to God. Hold it. So, David, there are clear core incidents in the Torah where patience and impatience play out. Mara, I see you, and I want to ask you if you want to contribute here. How do you feel about this conversation? You say, how do we make others aware of the need for humility? What are you feeling?
I'm feeling there needs to be a place for both those with whom we are impatient and ourselves. I know it goes back to what Fern is talking about, the principle of our need to determine what matters enough to take a stand about. But for me, the question is simply how can we make others aware of the need for their humility while still honoring them?
What a great question. Because wouldn't the world be better if everyone understood savlanut and hakarat tov and anava, and when we talk to another person, say, oh, by the way, you're constantly being late is really, complicated for me, and they would understand the categories. But sometimes we are speaking to a different moral dimension, and they don't have the language and the insight. And you're asking a great question. How would we help others understand humility? And I think that we're running out of time. I think that for me, and Mara, you've had a lot of experience with Moosar. I think for me, it would be my setting an example that if I preached or taught or, oh, by the way, have you seen this chapter on humility? Someone like you would really benefit from it. That might not go over big. and that maybe the best tool is our modeling. And it's not a great tool because it doesn't compel, it doesn't coerce. And some people, I love them, are so obtuse, they wouldn't even see the modeling. It wouldn't even enter in. But Moosar starts with, and you know, me working on me. And then me serving in that way as an example that could heal. I believe that. But, okay. Betsy, last comment. We can't control it. Perhaps it's more about our own commitment to embodying this trait. Like Gandhi, how did you spell Gandhi correctly? I give you credit. That is awesome. Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. Amen. Love it. Cliche, but true. If we live it in ourselves, then we can affect change. Kate agreed with Betsy. Stanley agrees with Betsy. And I think that's a good Gandhi comment. We're going to end today. This is pretty much Heschel. Slowing down is a prerequisite for paying attention. Paying attention is a prerequisite for experiencing wonder. We have to work on ourselves. We have to follow the Gandhi statement. This has been a great day. Next week, our last week, we're going to do the soul trait of Zrizut, hastening, running around, actively doing something. Have a wonderful week. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Be in touch, be safe. We'll see each other next week. Last time.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you,
Thank
Rabbi.
you.
Rabbi. Thank you, everyone.
Rabbi, what is your email, please?
Thank you.